Today on the official Marvel podcast, we've got Alian, Debra Jo Rupp, and Sasheer Zamata answering your biggest questions from episode 3 of Marvel Television's Agatha All Along.
Being able to manage everybody and try to create this potion together was very cool, but also challenging.
Oh, and don't worry, we're digging into that episode 3 name drop, so stick around for that.
Plus, we hear from Marvel Studios' Deadpool and Wolverine director Shawn Levy and star Reynolds as we celebrate the film's digital download release.
Here we start to introduce our legacy heroes, who we really chose because they all feed into this theme of legacy, and some characters who either never got a proper ending or who never got a start.
Not to mention, we about to make a name for ourselves with a Gambit character breakdown as we take you through the hero's comic book lore.
I'm Quinn Lamar.
And I'm Nick Carrillo.
And this is the official Marvel podcast. Okay, so last week on the show, we discussed the 2-episode premiere of Agatha All Along and even heard from the executive producer and head writer, Jack Schaefer, as well as star of the series, Kathryn Hahn.
And now that we've officially assembled our coven, hit the witch's road, and faced our first trial, it's time to hit the spoiler warning and dive in.
Okay, so this episode featured our first trial that centered around Sasheer Zamata's character, Jennifer Kale. The trial takes place after our coven solves the presented riddle and drink the wine.
Yes. However, things take a turn for the worse once the witches figure out that the wine is poisoned with Alewife's Revenge, a poison known to cause dizziness, delirium, loss of motor function, hallucinations, and what's that last one? Oh yeah, death.
Okay, yeah, sure. Focus on the negatives, Nick. You left out that the wine never runs out and even refills itself. If you ask me, bottomless wine seems like a fair trade-off.
Worth death.
Did I stutter?
Okay. Well, hopefully you have a potions witch like Jennifer Kale handy, because as we see in episode 3, Jennifer takes charge of the coven to create an antidote. Here's Sasheer Zamata.
Being able to manage everybody and try to create this potion together was very cool, but also challenging because we were also losing our physical capabilities because we were all poisoned. But yeah, it was just a really wild trial, and there was so many water elements involved and drinking things. It was quite wild.
Now, while the wine does carry some mild side effects,
death isn't minor, Quinn.
As I was saying, the hallucinations our witches experience also allow us to get a feel for their past. And in the case of Jen's, we get to see how her character has evolved and understand her coping mechanisms.
It's quite an evolution. I think she has been used to pushing people away, and she kind of uses sarcasm as a shield because she kind of got ousted from the witch community. Her power literally got taken from her, and it feels so betraying and lonely. And so I think she got used to being on her own, and having to join a coven is very strange for her, and she has to open herself up to trusting this whole group of people. And I think being able to see her kind of get messy and dirty and unravel a little bit and freak out and also be brave in ways that she wasn't before is really wonderful, and it was very fun to play.
And she wasn't the only one. The actress who plays Sharon Davis, Debra Jo Rupp, also had a great time on set that day.
Because of the amount of prosthetics she had to wear. Because of the wine.
Allegedly.
Because of the wine, the witches' faces became swollen and distorted, so they employed the use of prosthetics to create that illusion, though Debra didn't initially look forward to putting it on.
I kind of dreaded it because I've never done it before in my long life, and I thought, oh my God, we're going to be in makeup for forever. It wasn't that as long as I thought it would be.
And it was worth it. We were just dying.
So worth it. And then just to see each other.
Oh.
The other voices you hear are from Debra's co-stars, Sasheer Zamata and Alian. They were all present during our conversation. Here's Ali, who plays Alice Wu Gulliver.
Just cackling at each other. And you couldn't laugh fully in the faces. So we're trying to keep our faces slack, but just dying looking at each other.
I have a picture of Allie and I that I took while we were waiting, trying to eat.
Yeah, we're trying to stuff rice in our big lips.
I can't wait to post it. I can't wait.
Now, according to Debra Jo Rupp, the only really challenging part was having to be placed in the initial mold that was used to create the prosthetics.
That was the scariest part, but they were very good. Oh, and they give you a straw, too. But they explained everything, so they were great. They were great, and it was worth it.
It's also really early, so you can kind of Go back to sleep.
Yeah, I definitely fell asleep
Yeah.
in the chair
Yeah.
sometimes.
I'm so excited to see what the next trial has in store for us.
I mean, if it's anything like this first one, it's going to be just as wild and trippy. To find out for yourself, be sure to tune in to Agatha All Along next week, only on Disney+.
Okay, I'll cheers to that.
Quinn, where did you get that wine?
This week, Marvel fans were treated to a long-awaited name drop on Agatha All Along.
Maybe you were minding your business, peacefully enjoying the episode when someone on your couch or in your phone absolutely lost their mind.
My friend went ballistic. We had to pause it. He's been hoping for this for years.
And if you're wondering why Quinn's friend and the internet were so hyped, we're here to explain why mentioning Mephisto is such a huge deal.
In the comics, Mephisto is a demon hell lord. He's Marvel's version of a character from German literature named Mephistopheles, and he's a major fan favorite. Mephisto is an immortal shapeshifter with the power to give and take people's souls. He is absolutely terrifying, and he makes for some mind-bending storylines. He's made enemies of Spider-Man, the Scarlet Witch, Daredevil, Doctor Doom, the Avengers, the X-Men, even Thanos himself. So it makes sense that the fans have been on the lookout for Marvel's Devil on the big screen. And that's not necessarily in vain. The first Mephisto Easter egg we remember seeing comes from the very first Avengers film way back in 2012.
Oh, right. His name appears in some teeny tiny text on a document about the Tesseract, you know, the glowing cube that contained an Infinity Stone. The doc only appears for 1 second, but fans went frame by frame so they could read it. Otherwise, it is a literal blink and you'll miss it situation.
And so began a long tradition of looking out for Mephisto in the MCU. Then in 2019, during Avengers Endgame, one of Thanos' lackeys pulls a Mephisto quote directly from the comics.
My humble personage bows before your grandeur.
Eagle-eyed or eagle-eared fans who caught that one are my heroes. That's some serious dedication.
Do eagles have good hearing? I don't know. Now, this is where we get a little more vague. Enter Marvel Studios' WandaVision. Wanda and Mephisto have a lot of complicated history in the comics. So WandaVision was basically a playground for Mephisto fan theories. In the comics, Wanda's son Billy and Tommy are made with pieces of Mephisto's soul. So a lot of fans theorized that Billy and Tommy showing up in the series meant Mephisto was close behind, especially when their fake uncle or funkle calls this out to the boys.
Unleash hell, demon spawn!
Maybe a secret clue, maybe just their funkle egging them on. And since Mephisto is a pretty devilish-looking dude with red skin and fangs and horns, any mention of the devil brings him to mind. Like this little quip from Westview, New Jersey's Queen Bee, Dottie.
The devil's in the details, Bev.
That's not the only place he is.
In the comics, Mephisto can shapeshift, so fan theories ran the gamut, and people thought Monica, Agnes, Ralph, Dottie, the Beekeeper, Mr. Hart, Senior Scratchy, everyone in Westview could have been Mephisto.
My favorite theory was that the cicada in Agatha's basement was Mephisto. They had some pretty convincing theories.
Yeah, I don't know that I see Mephisto getting eaten by a rabbit, but we love a creative guess. People also thought the rabbit was Mephisto, since his name, Senior Scratchy, could be a reference to a nickname for the devil, Old Scratch.
Keep that name in mind for later.
Mephisto's power set also includes the ability to create illusions and alter memories. Some people thought Wanda made a deal with Mephisto to bring her late husband Vision back to life, and others thought Mephisto would pop up at the end and reveal that he had been controlling everything all along.
Do you mean it was Mephisto all along?
Yeah, okay, Nick, yeah. People also guessed that Westview was a portal to hell, or a pocket dimension, or an alternate reality that Mephisto created to trap Wanda.
I know all these turned out to be wrong, but it was really fun following along with all those theories every week.
I agree. Marvel fans are truly the best fans, and it didn't stop at WandaVision. Folks thought Mephisto would show up in Marvel Studios' Loki Season 1 based on an image of a horned figure on a stained glass window in the trailer.
Doesn't Loki also wear horns?
Yes, but to be fair, the figure in the window was red.
Oh, okay, I'll give him that then.
In Marvel Studios' She-Hulk, we see a pointy devil's pitchfork on a bottle of wine, which is a really tiny reference that caused a lot of internet commotion. Not to mention Daredevil shows up in the series, so it's possible this was just foreshadowing a different devil. And then there's Madison. She's a minor character who pops up a few times and is always completely drunk, stumbling in and out of other dimensions by accident.
I made a pact with a demon that I cannot discuss. Otherwise, he said he would reap my soul and the souls of all I love, which honestly is so dramatic, and I hate drama.
But of course, she does talk about it.
And a talking goat helped me escape a lava pit in exchange for 6 drops of my blood.
Many people thought Madison could have been referring to Mephisto based on an alias he goes by, Jack Scratch.
The demon, I think his name is Jake.
Now, if Madison was talking about Mephisto, she didn't hear him quite right. But to this day, we have no idea whether these were even Easter eggs or just fun quips the writer's room got a kick out of.
Honestly, this level of mystery feels very on brand for Mephisto.
I mean, the MCU has been going for 16 years, 34 movies, and 10 TV series so far. It's a huge undertaking with countless creatives involved. The mystery is kind of the point. Getting to analyze these little details is a really big part of the fun of being a Marvel fan, and we can't wait to see what fan theories and analysis comes out of Agatha all along. At this point, I'm just glad our dedicated Mephisto fans have finally gotten confirmation that the devilish dealmaker definitely exists in the MCU.
And while we wait to see what other surprises Agatha All Along has for us next Wednesday, you can watch all of Marvel Studios' Avengers, Avengers Endgame, WandaVision, Loki, and She-Hulk Attorney at Law on Disney+. Okay, so this summer we saw the release of the biggest movie of the year, Marvel Studios' Deadpool and Wolverine. And if you haven't seen it already, well, you now have another way to watch it.
That's right, Quinn. Be the first to watch at home today. Marvel Studios' Deadpool and Wolverine is now available to buy only on digital. Quinn, remember the scene where we first meet Elektra, Blade, Gambit, and X-23?
Oh yeah, how could I forget?
Is Gambit here with me right now? Well, we got a peek at some of the commentary by the film's director Shawn Levy and star Ryan Reynolds on that particular scene covering Easter eggs, stories from the set, and more. Let's take a listen.
And that leads us to Hero's Hideout, which was always a centerpiece of the movie. And it's an unusual one because very often in a comedy, the main set piece is a physical or sight gag type of humor. This is a 9 to 12 page dialogue scene that brings back multiple legacy heroes. And we knew that these were going to be challenging days. It's a lot of dialogue. We had a blast. That's the bed, the Hulk bed from Ragnarok that Deadpool's waking up in. That's the temple from, I want to say, Multiverse of Madness that is the ceiling. And here we start to introduce our legacy heroes, who we really chose because they all feed into this theme of legacy and some characters who either never got a proper ending or who never got a start.
And this just also, I mean, all the Deadpool movies have a one sequence that's just a mega scene in one location, and this was that. And of course, Wesley Snipes and I have, a history. We worked together on Blade Trinity, and him showing up here in this way was, for me, a dream come true. I felt like audiences miss Wesley Snipes, and particularly in this role, they just didn't necessarily realize it yet. So when he shows up here, he and, of course, Gambit and, of course, Elektra, it's just one of the greatest in-theater experiences I've ever had in my life. I mean, the sound, you miss half the stuff happening because people are screaming so loud.
Okay. Look at you all. You must be the others.
Yeah, it's also, we'll listen to another great example of this, but Rob Simonson, who was our composer, wrote a banger of a cue for the introduction of the legacy heroes. And I encourage you to go back, turn our commentary off and just revel in the music because Simonson did an incredible job. This scene was a perfect example. It was the 5 of us who wrote on this movie. We round robin the scene. We rewrote it. Ryan and I both know Channing. He came in and did an exceptional small role in Free Guy for us. And
as did Chris Evans.
No kidding. As does Chris Evans. Years ago, like 8-10 years ago, I was one of probably 40 directors who met with Channing to direct the Gambit movie. And ultimately, no one got that job and the movie never quite happened. So to give this moment to Channing and to realize instantly, oh, wow, this guy has been readying for this his whole life. And the joy of writing Gambit with his absurd accent and somehow Channing manages to pull off the accent, pull off this extremely comic accurate suit, and still look badass and unspeakably attractive, or succulent, as Deadpool describes him. That's a crazy magic trick.
You can hear more when you download Marvel Studios' Deadpool and Wolverine at home today, with loads of bonus features, including deleted scenes and a gag reel.
Watch the biggest rated R movie of all time again and again and again. Buy it now only on digital.
Now, one of the many gifts that Deadpool and Wolverine bestowed upon us and the World Wide Web was Channing Tatum's appearance as Gambit, which was amazing.
Oh, so amazing. But if this is the first time you've encountered Gambit, or maybe you remember him from Marvel Animation's X-Men 97, but are looking for a little more background information on the character, we've got you covered.
Gambit, aka Remy LeBeau, is many things, but he's best known as the playing card throwing Rage and Cajun member of the mutant superhero team, the X-Men, though he's been through a lot just to get there.
Remy was abandoned at birth in New Orleans, most likely rejected because of his burning red eyes. Word of this child spread fast, and he was kidnapped from the hospital by a man named Jean-Luc LeBeau, the patriarch of the New Orleans chapter of the Thieves Guild, a global criminal organization.
Jean-Luc believed that Remy was the prophesized Le Diable Blanc, or the White Devil, who would unite the warring thieves and assassins guilds. Eventually, Jean-Luc formally adopted Remy into his family.
Speaking of the Assassin's Guild, around the age of 8, Remy tried to save a young girl named Belladonna Boudreaux from a group of thugs. However, she turned out to be the daughter of the Assassin's Guild leader, and she was more than capable of taking care of herself. The two became friends and even fell in love, and eventually they were married as part of a peace pact between the Thieves and Assassin's Guilds.
So the prophecy came true after all. I guess Remy was the Le Diable Blanc.
Kinda. The whole thing is pretty messy and results in Remy killing Belladonna's brother and then being excommunicated from the Thieves Guild. Oh, and he was banished from New Orleans in an attempt to maintain the non-aggression pact between the two guilds.
That is unfortunate. Now, Remy LeBeau's mutant ability manifested during puberty, though he kept it a secret at first. It wasn't until his tilling, the ritual initiation test of the Thieves Guild, that his secret identity as a mutant would be revealed.
During this ritual, Remy, along with his cousin and best friend Etienne Marceau, were captured and sold to a deformed mutant slave trader named the Pig. It's here that Remy managed to escape by discovering his trademark move by picking up a playing card that Etienne had dropped, charging it with energy and throwing it at the Pig. Remy managed to escape, but Etienne unfortunately didn't make it out alive.
Gambit's mutant abilities allow him to transform potential energy within an inorganic object and convert it into kinetic energy. Once he energizes an object, Gambit can mentally cause it to explode with concussive force.
And that's nothing compared to his other innate ability, his charm.
Swoon.
Outside of his mutant abilities, he's also highly skilled in the martial arts of Bojutsu, which makes him a master of staff techniques, and savate, which is a form of French kickboxing. He's also an extremely talented thief, adept at lockpicking and sleight of hand.
Gambit also wears a high-impact, lightweight, modularly aligned body armor that is composed of high-carbon, titanium steel alloy meshing, which is a fancy way of saying it keeps him pretty well protected from threats. He also wears a trench coat made of synthetic stretch fabric lined with Kevlar and woven silica fiber cloth to provide even more protection and insulation.
Not to mention, he also has a utility belt that holds weapons and devices he may need for any mission. Lockpicks, deck of cards, and even talcum powder.
Please tell me the reason why Gambit carries talcum powder is so he can use it to view infrared beams like they do in spy movies?
Oh yeah, our boy comes very prepared. And that's not all. He regularly wields a telescoping steel alloy battle staff that can extend up to 10 feet and be broken down into 2 short clubs.
No, wait, does he keep that in his utility belt? Like, how does that work?
Nope, he keeps each half of the staff strapped to those powerful thighs.
Oh, really? Okay, back to the story. With Gambit out on his own now, he wandered the world and became a master thief. When he started losing control of his powers, he went to the supervillain and geneticist known as Mr. Sinister for help. And get this, Sinister helped Remy by removing some of his brain tissue to reduce his power levels, affording him control.
Call me crazy, but brain tissue seems like a high price.
Gambit becomes indebted to Sinister and even undertakes several missions for him. After a while, though, Gambit wanted out. And so Sinister agreed to let him go if he assembled a team of superpowered mercenaries named the Marauders for him.
Gambit fulfilled his mission recruiting mutant villains like Sabretooth, Vertigo, and more, and even got his Piso brain back. We love a full brain.
Yay.
Although Sinister did use this evil team to murder an underground community of mutants known as the Morlocks in what's been referred to as the Mutant Massacre.
This horrified Remy, so much that he nearly died trying to stop the Marauders.
After those events, Gambit encountered the X-Man known as Storm for the first time. And this is where things get a little weird, but stay with me here. Storm had been transformed into a child and had lost her memories of being an X-Man. Together, they managed to restore Storm's memories and even located the missing X-Men. And because of their time together, Storm sponsored Remy's membership in the X-Men, where he quickly became a valued team member.
Among the ranks of the X-Men is also where he met the love of his life, Rogue. The two started dating, and oh yeah, if you're wondering, hold up, isn't Gambit already married? You be right and not alone. In fact, Rogue wasn't too keen about it when she found out either, but you just can't keep true love apart.
Well, sorta, because Rogue and Gambit's relationship status has varied throughout the years. That is, until the two decided to finally tie the knot during 2018's Mr. and Mrs. X series.
Since joining the X-Men, Gambit has aided the team on missions against aliens, crime lords, evil mutants, even the Avengers themselves during the Avengers vs. X-Men crossover event from 2012.
He's been a Horseman of the Apocalypse, ruled the Thieves Guild in his father's stead, and was a member of the corporate-owned superhero team known as X-Factor.
Yes. And it's during that time on X-Factor that he also adopted 3 cats, Oliver, Lucifer, and Figaro. Now, where have we heard those names before?
Gambit has been through a lot, but since those early days as a thief, he's grown into his own as a reliable member of the X-Men and a loving partner and husband. He's even gone on to lead his own team of X-Men.
I guess you can say he's made a name for himself here.
In the annals of Marvel history, it's not hard to encounter words of inspiration that not only leave an impact on the reader of a comic book or the viewer of a big screen adventure, but also become threads in the very fabric of popular culture. The guiding principles of, with great power, there must also come great responsibility. The rallying cry of, Avengers, assemble. The heartbreaking observation, what is grief, if not love persevering? And yet, however unlikely, the true poet laureate of the Marvel Universe is undeniably Remy Etienne LeBeau. You'd be forgiven for assuming that the hypnotic charm and good looks of Gambit might be his mutant superpower. Not true, nor is it his ability to charge items with kinetic energy and, one presumes, dazzle with a series of card tricks and deduce exactly what card you're thinking of. No, it's only when the Ragin' Cajun opens his mouth do we get a glimpse of his greatest ability. It's the power of inspiration, his never say die attitude. We hear what true confidence sounds like, and we understand the importance of claiming your moment and finding joy despite insurmountable odds, using nearly indecipherable sentence structure and word choice. And that's exactly what happened when Gambit faced off against a small army of thugs and superpowered villains in Marvel Studios' Deadpool and Wolverine. He assessed certain death and rallied his allies with these now immortal words.
You know how long I've been waiting for this? Woo, I'm about to make a name for myself here.
I don't think you guys walk away from this.
You just make sure people know what happened here today.
Don't even bother asking if Gambit is available to address your business or school or officiate weddings. The waiting list stretches for years. Be the first to watch Marvel Studios' Deadpool and Wolverine at home today.
Next week on the Official Marvel Podcast, we continue our behind-the-scenes exclusives as we delve into episode 4 with the cast of Agatha all along, including Allian, Patti LuPone, Aubrey Plaza, and more.
It was pretty special. I mean, how many times do you get to have an original song and actually get to perform it?
But until then, be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss an episode, and tell a friend about us.
That's it for today. This episode was hosted by Nick Carrillo and myself, Quinn Lamar.
Our producer is Jasmine Estrada.
With help from Senior Manager of Audio Production and Development, Brad Barton, and Production Manager, Emily Godfrey.
Mixed by Justin Harris.
Theme music by Ida Akbal.
Executive producers are Larissa Rosen and Jesse Berger.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.